the values of the people of Staunton, Augusta, and now you've got Waynesboro too, and even over to Nelson, right?
Right.
And still have Highland?
I do.
That's an area of people who have good, solid, conservative values, strong families, strong work ethic, and that's Dickie Bell to me. He carries that right to Richmond on behalf of all of them. And he has been a great leader in this community for a long time. People know him, and they know exactly where he stands, and they can count on him. He says that he's going to take a position, that's exactly what he does. And he takes a position of supporting limited government and promoting free enterprise, promoting creation of jobs through encouraging small businesses all throughout this area. And that's exactly what we need in Richmond. We need folks like him in Washington as well. We have real challenges there, and I tell my colleagues in the Congress all the time that we just need to look to the Virginia General Assembly for a lot of things, including balancing the budget. He not only supports the balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution, he understands it because he lives by it in Richmond and makes the tough decisions there every year to make sure that the state government lives within its means. Does that by having government operate more effectively and efficiently and achieving savings that way, and not by raising taxes, not by over-regulating businesses and families in his district. So he has experience not only at the state level but also on Staunton City Council for many, many years, and so he understands the needs of the communities that he represents and the pressures that they're under because he's been there and walked that walk as well, and I have every confidence that he will be reelected and he'll continue to do a great job for the people of this area. Thank you.
What's your reaction?
My reaction is, I think it's very kind words. I'm pleased and honored to have them. Bob and I have always shared the same conservative values. We believe in the same conservative principles because we know they work. And it's just been a pleasure for me, knowing Bob for so many years, being able to work with him, having his support. Those are very key things to me in political office. I think some of the things we've done in Virginia, like Bob said, would work well in Washington. And he's been a huge proponent of a balanced budget amendment. That needs to happen. It's no accident that Virginia's ahead of the curve in this recession. It's because we do things that work, and it's because we apply conservative principles and ideas that get results. And I'm all about solutions. Bob Goodlatte's all about solutions, and I think that's why we agree on so many things and are able to work so well together.
I would add that I see Dickie and Ann Bell everywhere around this district. I'm sure they get to a lot more things that I don't get to, but almost everything I get to, they're right there. As much as any other elected official, they get out and meet their constituents and listen to what their concerns are, and I think he really has a real finger on the pulse of this community and knows what's needed and knows what people want him to do in Richmond, and that's a true sign of a great elected official. He listens to his constituents, and between listening to their concerns and using his good judgment and his conscience, he is a very conscientious representative of the people of Richmond. I admire him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any thoughts about the legislation the president has?
Oh, now you're changing the subject. Well, I didn't come here for that, but since you asked,
it's another story.
I'll say that
the second story.
I'm pleased that the president is both interested in job creation and in getting federal deficit under control. There are things in the job plan that he announced last week, and there are issues related to reforming some of the taxes that he'd like to change that are good. I do not agree with his proposal to raise taxes. I think this is a particularly bad time to raise taxes. You're especially asking people who have assets to invest in growing their businesses, in creating jobs, to take a risk in that regard, and at the same time you ask them to pay higher taxes, I think it'll have the opposite effect. It could cost jobs. So tax reform, where you take some of the unfairness out of our tax code, some of the things President has mentioned certainly should be looked at. There are suggestions I've put forward, like eliminating the ethanol subsidy and a number of other things like that, that we could work together and find ways to improve the tax code, but then take those resources and use them in other parts of the tax code to create incentives for greater job creation in the country. Secondly, there is a lot of work that needs to be done on cutting back on federal government spending, and the President's proposal to increase government spending as a part of his plan wipes out all of, if it were to happen, would wipe out all of the reductions that we fought so hard to reach agreement on all through the year leading up to the end of July, when we reached our second agreement with him on cutting back on government spending. Here, in one fell swoop, he has proposed more increases than all those cuts.
So 440 days, right?
Right. So it's a concern to me that he is making these proposals in this fashion. I have a very different approach to job creation. I believe that we need to get the federal government operating far more efficiently than it is, get the federal government to back off of some of the over-regulation that's taking place in businesses, do the tax